Last night I had a little trouble falling asleep. I think what I needed was a good bedtime story. So I turned to Reddit, just cruising around, perusing, see if I could find anything that'd give me the yawns and help me go night night. But I found something extraordinary. Something so stimulating I stopped any attempt at going to sleep, and I just sat there bewildered by what I had just read. For at least 40 minutes, I just sat in silence, truly stunned, like a child who had just watched his first episode of Chris Angel's Mind Freak. My brain was blown out my ass. I couldn't imagine a world where this was real, but all of the evidence pointed to it being a genuinely true story. I did eventually hit the hay, and now, a full 9 hours later, I'm still thinking about this, so I figured, why not share it with all of you? Perhaps this will have a profound effect on your life, or maybe it'll do something to help motivate you to not be like the guy in this story. It's a series of text messages between a man and a woman. And that's all I'll tell you for now. I don't want to get in any spoilers. I want you to come into this as unsuspecting as possible. Let's dive in. Previously on Dragon Ball Z, the two people in this text conversation were close friends for about 9 years. The Reddit poster is the woman in this story, and her male friend here had recently professed his love for her in a pretty creepy way. The feeling wasn't mutual, so it led to a bit of a disconnect between the two of them, and in an act of desperation, the male friend calls in the cringe artillery and starts bombarding her with memes, to which she finally responds, "Hey, I appreciate the memes." Real quick, I'd like to come in here with a PSA. I recognize that in the current climate of things, there's a lot of people that have lived their entire lives online without any actual social interaction, so I want this to be a teachable moment. Don't send memes as some kind of last-ditch Hail Mary. Like, if you let something rip and it's not reciprocated, spamming memes isn't going to salvage the situation. It's only going to make it worse and even weirder. Her saying, "I appreciate the memes," is just a lie. No one's ever going to say that. Those words have probably not left a human being's mouth ever. "Ah, good morrow, sailor. I really appreciate the exquisite memes you've shared with me today. I was a little perturbed with our last conversation, but now that you've sent 1,000 memes, I see you've got a good heart. Thank you for this." And I'm speaking from experience here. I'm very knowledgeable in this field. I'm the authority on this matter. I've told this story before, but I'll just briefly repeat it. The very first girl I was ever flirting with and exchanging text messages with was back in high school, and she did not feel the same way about me as I did her. And in my weakest moments, I turned to the dark side and consulted the Sith Lords, and was advised to try and maybe send goofy memes and ASCII art, because that was big back in the day. So I did. And guess what? It didn't fucking solve anything. It just made it even worse. I know how uncomfortable that must have been for her. So yeah, that is not the right play, to just start spamming memes and shit. But anyway, she continues the message by saying that she's only ever thought of him as a close friend and never really viewed him in a romantic way. So when he professed her love, it made things a little weird. They grew distant, they grew a bit hostile, but she thinks they can be friends again just as long as it's very clear that there is no romantic feelings in this relationship. She's just laying down the brass tacks and making things very clear, to which he responds, "I certainly had my head on backwards, but as my friend, I really think you're fucking adorable, and every trip I've ever taken with you is so fucking precious. I've heard of a Japanese word called shibumi, and it's basically authority without dominance. Call me a simp, but I really think you have that." Code red, he's not taking no for an answer. Jinkies, we're going too deep. He just busted out shibumi. Jesus Christ, we're in the in-game now. Lord help us. He continues to spaghetti dump here for the novel that he's writing her. There's steam coming off of the touchscreen pad as he's writing. The most important takeaway here is a very specific line, a buzzword that gets dropped that I think is very important that we highlight. He says, "Sometimes it feels like my chivalrous interest with you is underappreciated or just unappreciated sometimes." The reason I point that out is because I'm pretty confident that the word chivalry is used exclusively by creeps. I don't think there's been a documented case of a normal person saying chivalry, especially not in this context. It's just like an immediate red flag word to drop, especially when saying that my chivalrous interest is underappreciated, it's not valued enough. It's just some certified weirdo Redditor energy. Like tipping the hat, "M'lady, it's no problem, you're welcome for holding the door open for you. Chivalry isn't dead, am I right?" I'm the perfect example. No, of course, I'm just kidding, I jest. Chivalry can't die, because to die, it would imply that it was ever alive in the first place. Only a living thing can experience death, and chivalry is not a living thing, it's an idea. More of a social code, per se. He continues on, and then eventually tells her that she should like one of them so he doesn't feel crazy, to which she says, "You're not crazy, I just need some time to think." Which I think is a perfectly reasonable response to all of this, but he gives her no time to think and immediately just comes back to, "Please, please, let me find favor in your eyes." I'm assuming he heard that in some kind of like indie song at some point, so he tried to throw that in here to see if it'd work. So he's going full-blown Robert Frost now, even then drops a picture saying, "Daydream with me," and it's like the sun rising. So it's getting very emotional in here. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because it's him once again just begging for any kind of reciprocation, to which she just keeps saying she just needs some time to process all of this. But he's extremely impatient. His foot is fully on the gas and there's no turning back now. He is full throttle invested in all of this. He's using every possible cliche line imaginable, but he's not finding any favor in her eyes. It just keeps going. "You're valid. Never really heard the extent of why I'm your friend." So now he's like interrogating her. "Why am I your buddy? Why am I your pal, huh? Tell me. I could tell you all day why you're my friend. Your voice is fucking music. I think you're brilliant. Just a brilliant person to be around. Really wish I could hug you. Fuck. This hurts." And again, she reiterates, "I need time to think. I will reach out when I'm ready." And now we've finally gotten past the introduction here and we're entering the climax. Welcome to the wacky zone. He once again gives her no time to like reach out or process any of this. He reaches out pretty soon after everything, only a couple of days, and says, "So like, is there any chance as your friend I could send you something explicit?" She says, "What do you mean?" And then he goes, "NSFW," which I'm sure all of you know what that means, but I'll break it down anyway. Not safe for work. Of course, she wasn't expecting this curveball, so she says, "Are you trying to make a joke right now?" And then he goes, "No, kind of a gamble." I will say this is a historic moment. You are witnessing the worst gamble in history. Congratulations, we all got to be a part of this. This is, by far, the absolute worst possible fucking gamble you could ever make. This is like betting 100% of your life savings on me getting taller. Like, what the fuck are you, like, I don't understand how you think an out-of-nowhere nudie is going to somehow win her over and, like, somehow solve all of these problems. I just can't even understand that mindset, really. It just doesn't compute. Like, okay, I tried all of the lovey-dovey, really mushy-gushy stuff with the favor in your eyes, your voice is like magic or music. It didn't work. So let's try something a little more primal. Wiener. What about penis? Eureka! This might be the answer. Let's try it. She's once again just trying to make sure she fully understands the lunacy going on here, so she says, "Are you asking me if you can send me something sexually explicit? Respectfully." What a gentleman. A fedora tip to you, my gentle sir. That is sophisticated. Very respectful. "M'lady, doth thou wish to gaze upon my meat?" And then he sends her a dick pic with his pinky out while holding it. An incredibly interesting play here, as if somehow his cock was going to hypnotize her and make her fall in love with him. So she eventually responds by pointing out how weird this whole interaction has become. She still only ever viewed them as friends and will only ever view him as a friend, and that she's very disappointed that he can't even respect that she wants some time to herself to process this entire weird interaction. She also drops a bombshell at the end by mentioning that she's currently in a relationship, so that was a big plot twist. This goober is doing all of this to a girl who is not interested and also in a relationship. The odds couldn't be more against him. Now, she used a word at the end that's about to change the entire course of this interaction. She said, "It sucked when you went all incel on me towards the end." That word, I had a big voice crack there, that's how powerful that word is. That one word ruffled this guy's feathers so much. You're about to see a full-blown ballistic breakdown from it. I respect that. Also, if I'm an incel, you're toxic, so let's not name call. She's toxic because she doesn't want to fuck him. Why is that even in your argument, that I can't get someone? I can. You choose not to. That's fair, but you didn't get to call me an incel because you decline. You go out of your way to say it. Why is that? Label me as anything else, like for real. It's foolish for you to argue something like that. She gets taken off guard here, saying like, hey, whoa, pump the brakes, Buster. I didn't mean to offend you. She says, I never said you couldn't get someone. What do you mean? She never said that. Like, he is now just projecting some insecurities and reading between the lines on shit that doesn't exist. She just said his behavior was that of like an incel or something. And he keeps going. You should know I'm anything but a little dick incel, so out of here with that shit. Again, she never even pointed out your penis or anything. She didn't call it small. Like, where is this coming from? He's fighting ghosts. I'm not even gonna pretend that's valid. You're with a fucking beta cuck to begin with. Maybe that's your type and maybe that's why we aren't together. Have fun with that. The mask has come off. He is unchained, unhinged, and unhappy. Your boyfriend's a beta cuck loser. That's the only reason you and I aren't together, because that's what you're into, beta cucks. You couldn't handle an alpha male testosterone titan like me, a real man who cries while he texts. She then goes on to say, like, look, if you find me to be toxic and all of this awful stuff, like, okay, then, you know, you shouldn't be upset that we're not close anymore. And to this big message, he just responds by saying, I'll see you in hell. And then she says r/nice guys, which this very much is an r/nice guys moment. You know, keep in mind, this is still only a couple days after the whole poetic, allow me to find favor in your eyes, miss. Your voice is music, sweet music. And now it's, what an excellent take on a 7-year waste of my fucking time. To which she responds, so you're just waiting around until I'd eventually date you? That's on you, man. She's absolutely right. That is entirely on you. This dude played the long game, almost an entire decade of pretending to be her friend in the hopes that eventually you'll get to fuck her, I guess was the plan. That is a long commitment to a deep cover operation to stay in disguise, faking friendship, hoping that eventually you'll be able to have sex with her. Then he says, how was I supposed to know you're only interested in half men? I've never even seen that term used before. This guy's pulling all kinds of Insano-style phrases out of his ass now. I spent 7 years just waiting for you to notice the difference, but I guess I bet on the wrong fucking horse. This goober spent 7 years pretending to be her friend, hoping that somehow she'd fall in love with him? This is craziness. This is a longer time spent undercover than Rob Lucci and the gang during the Water 7 arc of One Piece. Like, this is outrageous how long he committed to this ridiculous, diabolical plan. And now he's just full anime villain mode. I'm over you. That's why I asked if you needed a visual definition of the word endowed, because I bet you're never going to get that with the life you choose to live without me. Motherfucker, I grew this dick for you, you ungrateful clod. We have to pause here for a moment. Wow. I grew this dick for you, you ungrateful clod. That is one of the most powerful sentences I've ever had the pleasure of reading. What does that even mean? That's not even possible. How could you have grown your penis for her? Was there no dick there to begin with, and then you just started, planting the seeds and then taking care of it like summertime gardening? Like, what does that mean, you grew it for her? Is it a laboratory experiment like the Cybermen? Like, I don't understand. It's just such a bafflingly amazing sentence. She's also stunned, saying, I refuse to believe that these messages aren't satire. And then that sets him off even further. This entire relationship is satire. A joke. Your interest in men is a joke. The wambulance is coming in hot. He's Squidward, you're Squidward, I'm Squidward, we're all Squidward. This whole relationship satire, it's all a joke, you're a joke. Fuck you. My interest in you is a joke. This is the first time I wanted to show someone my dick because I hate them. Fucking brilliant. r/nice guys, these nuts. She waits a while and then says, I think enough time has passed and I just genuinely want to know if you've had any remorse for the shit you said to me or if you truly believe it was all valid. And then he responds 7 hours later saying, let's find out if you're still seeing the Hat Man first. I don't know what that means, But then he comes back 2 hours later and said, "I'm over you. You're wasting your time." So he's trying to flip this around on her like, you missed your opportunity with the golden goose. You missed your opportunity with the alpha. I've moved on, you harpy. I don't need you anymore, harlot. Listen, I've matured a lot. You clearly haven't. So you're wasting your time trying to talk to me now. You had your chance. You blew it. I'm sure you're kicking yourself now for this, but hey, that's the way the cookie crumbles. But then just to finish it off with the cherry on top, he quotes from before where he was offering to show her his wiener and says, "I still mean this if you need clarification." And then comes back and says, "Except don't even bother asking for nudes. I have a girlfriend." Okay. I mean, this is quite the ride. What an adventure. She eventually just says, "What's wrong with you? We were friends for almost a decade." And then you go into this shit. Which is a reasonable response. Like, how did this happen? We have been friends for like 10 years. We've known each other for so long. Where did this come from? It is crazy. This whole situation was wild. And also, I'm calling fiddlesticks on that last statement from him. I don't believe he has a girlfriend. If we go back to like chapter 7 of this meltdown, he said that she was the first girl he wanted to show his penis to. So, I'm under the impression he's a virgin. And I don't think enough time has passed between those messages and these that he would not only lose his virginity, but then also have a girlfriend, especially given all of the behavior we're seeing exhibited here. So, I think he lied about that. That was probably just once again some kind of Hail Mary to make her jealous. Like, hey, listen, Toots. Got a girlfriend. Stay off of me. Can't send you nudes anymore. You blew it. Nope, can't do it. Sorry. That's on you. You'll regret this for the rest of your life, clearly. Sorry. Have a girlfriend. Even though it's most likely a lie. But yeah, that's all there is to the story here. Overall, I think we can all agree that nice guys really do finish last. It is insulting that these two didn't end up getting married. This guy is a real catch, and it's just a shame to see that it didn't pan out. But yeah, overall, dropping the sarcasm, I actually feel really bad for the woman in this situation here. This is someone who was a close friend to her for a fucking decade, only to then find out that that close friend was actually just a complete piece of shit, loser, degenerate, who was only being her friend, trying to have sex with her down the line. I can't even imagine that kind of betrayal. That must have been fucking awful. But yeah, anyway, I just wanted to share this because I've been thinking about it like all day. So yeah, that's really about it. See ya.